Hi, thank you very much for joining BIP Chat. Many of you won't know what that is, but you might be interested in what the subject matter is. But before we go on to that, I'm just going to give you a little bit of context about BIP Chat. And then we're going to be able to have a brilliant conversation with Onur Ibrahim, who's going to share with us some incredible golden nuggets about life now at this cutting edge, bleeding edge of generating sales and how to improve engagement. And I'm going to give you a proper introduction to Onur in a minute. So BIP stands for Business is Personal. It's a belief that Thomas and I have had for our entire business career, which is now over 40 years. And we've always believed that the relationships are very important, but also how you manage your own self-performance and your own attitudes to life and what your values are. And really, we're one human being. It's very holistic, and we create a community of incredible experts. So the 100, BIP 100, which is our brand name for our community, excuse me, a little bit of a cough there, is that we are searching all the time for amazing experts, and so that Thomas and I can give the support, the mentorship, and know what connections they want, and help the community to grow and thrive together through sharing their expertise with each other as clients, collaborators. We keep that to a small number in this community, which is very different to when we built Academy, which was the first social network, and that was all over the world with over 650,000 members. This is a very intimate group. What it gives us the ability to do is through massive search and huge passion, finding great suppliers. And we strongly believe finding great suppliers are as critical as finding that great client that you're looking for. And on that subject, one of the most important things that are in any business is how do you create your brand and sell yourself and get seen, but also seen in a way that you want the world to see you, that it's not too transactional, that it's got a beautiful attitude behind it. And it's a really fine balance. And we were so thrilled when we found Onur and asked him to join our community. But then we had this double whammy, when we actually started working with him in our own business. And it's been really fantastic. I think we all know there can be massive amounts of marketing spend wasted. I think it is too easy to just click boost a post on Facebook, spend hours and hours of time creating content on LinkedIn and across social media without the direction of someone like Onur. Now, Onur has been doing outbound digital marketing since 1996, and his real claim to fame is that he did the first commercial advert for Facebook, working for a company in 2004. So we're talking someone that's got a massive legacy of understanding not just the technology, but also human behavior and understanding what works and the tone that works and where the best way is to spend your money. And we've had the most amazing emotional experience with Onur, almost to the extent where I've wanted to send him extra money, which sounds a bit weird when you have a supplier and you want to pay them a bit more. But it really is phenomenal working with Onur. So we're really proud to be working with him, and I'm incredibly proud to be bringing him to you. So I'm going to now introduce Onur and let him tell you a little bit more about himself. And then I'm going to talk about the key points to keep you interested as you walk your dog or listen in the car, or maybe even sit with a notebook and pen and pick up all of these great tips. So Onur, thank you for being so patient, staring at the screen as I do all the talking, but most of it's now going to definitely be you. So thank you for joining us, Onur.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Penny. That was absolutely fantastic intro. Thank you
so much. Well, it wasn't difficult and it wasn't scripted. It literally came from my heart. It's wonderful when you've got direct experience of an expert and you can really advocate them. So tell us a little bit about your background, because there are a lot of people coming in, amount of messages I get on LinkedIn from 22, 23-year-olds telling me they can do our digital marketing. And I think, well, I'm actually working with
I'm on the phone.
I'm working with somebody who was actually doing this before you were born, which sounds a little bit patronizing. To anybody that's young, I'm so sorry. And obviously we love to learn new things from young people, but Onur, this legacy you have, tell us a little bit about really your journey, but also why this is something that you are so deeply passionate about.
So I was extremely lucky. When I was my year in school was the first year to have IT as a GCSE.
Wow.
So we were the first year to have a computer room, not a BBC Micro computer room, because a lot of people had those, but Windows and this.
Wow.
And from day one, I was kind of besotted. That was it. I was hooked, and I just started to get really involved in the internet and what it was showing and where it was going. So this became my hobby, my sport, my topic of conversation. It was kind of everything when I was coming through school. And then I got to A-levels and I suddenly had these skills that no one else had. So I started building websites for people, and you know, I was the guy that understood their computers. So that back then it was a big TV screen box that was about that deep, you know, sitting on a desk, and who's the guy that knows what goes on behind that screen? Well, that was me. So people used to call me up and say, oh, I've got a business and I want a website. Can you make me a website? You know, brilliant, golden days. And I just used to literally put a business card on the internet for people. And then one day someone said to me, oh, I've got this thing on the internet. You've built this website for me, but how do I know when anyone's looking at it? And how can I get people to look at it? Well, that was it. You know, the journey started. And we had SEO back then was very different, and Google was just doing a very rudimentary PPC system. Yahoo was actually better. Tells you how different the world was. And I just started helping people to build these websites and get people to find out where they were. Brilliant. And back then it was like leaflets. It was like designing a leaflet for someone, and instead of popping it through the door. Because let's remember, this is 1996, 97.
Well, there were no proper roads to somebody's website. I always remember the time you sort of talked about somebody's created a shop and it's in the middle of Dartmoor and nobody can find it. You know what I mean? It's like there were no roads to these websites.
It was a world with no Google Maps.
Yeah.
Almost no email. Email addresses, but almost no email. AOL was king of the hill, or was becoming king of the hill. And
SEO hadn't really been considered at all.
Well, it didn't even have a name.
No.
It wasn't even search engine optimization. It was just what do you do to get found? You know, out of the 100 websites that there are.
So in those days, which obviously we were involved then, it was amazing because you didn't have to do much to be seen and found as well. And now it is so complex, actually. I mean, this is why we hire our expert in, you know, see the expertise in you. And one of the things that, you know, apart from the obviously you understanding the engines that we need to learn, all the algorithms, the way these machines work, the Facebook's, the links, all these machines are working, the websites. You also understand CRM, so you understand the sales pathway as well. And I know it's been really interesting working with you on making sure that we create all the back office efficiencies around it to minimize the, you know, when you're taking someone from suspect to prospect to customer. And that's a really interesting aspect of your work, isn't it? So
this is, again, where I was super, super lucky. I had this business building websites for people, and I realized I knew nothing. I knew nothing about business. So I very quickly, I sold that initial business. It can't even sell an exit. I sold it. It was so little, you know, but I think I sold the business and bought a car. It was that kind of money.
Nice.
But I got a job in an agency that was a customer experience agency. It was an experiential business called RPM. Right. And we were doing big experiential projects for people like Stella Artois, Coca-Cola, Beck's Beer, lots of alcohol, lots of Diageo. And that's when I was introduced to the world of account planning. And account planning is it's the art of understanding your customer. It's the best way to present it. And it was coming up. I mean, it had been around since the 60s, and it was really becoming a buzzword at that time. And there was no job. I think I was one of the first digital strategists in the world. It's one of the first people in ad agencies to have the title digital strategist. Mm. And what did that mean? Well, that meant I understood the technology, but it also meant I sat with the account planning team. So I had to understand the customer. Nice. And what I learned early on doing that work was that when you look at the problem from the customer's perspective, it's very different to the solution that we offer sometimes. Yeah. So from early days in 2004, I started to work on all of my campaigns, looking at them from the customer's perspective. So if I'm a customer, will I get value from this? Will I find this important? Is it just going to be something that, is it going to be an annoyance? Is this person just trying to get my email address to send me loads of spam? And you have to really look at it from their perspective and think, well, how can I make this experience the best experience possible for that end user? And then when you look at advertising from that perspective, it becomes emotional and it becomes valuable. It becomes two-way. So I'm always trying to do digital advertising at scale, but trying to create two-way conversations.
Yeah,
So
well,
I've always been looking for ways to do that. And that's been the big differentiator, really.
yeah, well, it's empathy. What you're describing there is empathy, really, as well. You know, you're understanding the technology, but you're understanding the needs of the direct client like us, but also what the customer ultimately is seeking and what they want to hear, and what their pain points and needs are, which is phenomenal, because the way you're helping us mold our messaging and testing and pivoting, and it takes time to get it to land, and then you start seeing these fantastic results. So before we go much further, because it's really good, I mean, obviously everybody now will see that there's a huge legacy of knowledge and huge values in the purpose that you have around it. So if you're still listening, and I hope you are, we're going to be looking at 3 key areas. So we're going to dive into some actionable strategies to simplify the customer engagement while driving growth. How to streamline your marketing efforts, improve your customer experience, and foster loyalty with a lot less effort. And also one I love, because business is personal, very much about that, explore practical ways to enhance your business growth without the stress. And I think that's a really critical one. And I would like to say here to anyone that, we're a small business. I've got a legacy of fear around finance. We've been through a lot. Many of you will know. Read my book, chapter 2, or ask for my PDF, and you'll be able to read it. I'm very transparent about it. We can't afford to waste money, but also, we're not able to take on big agencies and work with them. And so that was always one of my concerns looking for a supplier, is how do you get big agency knowledge, but for small business prices? And whilst Onur can work with, large companies and does work with large companies, we're obviously working with them as a small business. So, if you're starting to listen to this and think, oh, I really would like to explore this, but, have I got the budget? It's really worth talking things through with Onur, and we'd be delighted to introduce you to him. We'd be really thrilled. So just send me or Thomas a message, or of course, if you're a BIPper listening to this, you know exactly how to get hold of Onur. So let's look at these first things, dive into actionable strategies to simplify customer engagement. Okay, so what are the sort of things that you would highlight here? I'm sure this is a big topic in its own right, but for a few minutes.
Really simply, is what's the benefit of the thing you're offering to your customer?
Right.
But everything that we do is outcome based.
Yeah.
So you think about the outcome to the audience. For example, with the BIP ads, can I talk about that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, of course.
We talk about business networking being different, a different way to achieve networking. And there's a lot of people who have gone to networking events, I was one of them, become very disenchanted with the way it works.
A lot of networks out there, aren't there?
Yeah, there's a lot of networks, and it's finding the right ones that resonate with you personally.
Yeah.
And BIP as a network is very special because it's very personable. And we were discussing this yesterday with a couple of BIPers over dinner. Everybody in the network, you would not hesitate to introduce people within the network to each other.
Yeah.
And that's a very special thing. So how do you find more people like that using advertising? Because it's a very specific thing that we're looking for. And we found a way to target those people. And the ad networks give you certain targeting abilities. I want to call them frameworks because they're limited, but you have abilities to find people with certain interests. And then you have to write an ad that also resonates with those people in the same or similar way to the way you want to talk with them. So when I do my work, I'm looking for that perfect audience. And then once I found that perfect audience, I'm then writing an ad that also further filters that audience even more. So the ad copy is just as important as the technical. And then when you ask people to give you some information, the promise has to be worthy of them. You know, the promise has to give them a benefit. You know, there's always got to be an outcome-based benefit in the promise. Otherwise, they're just not going to connect. We're doing something quite clever with your ads, where we've got a unit that generates the lead in the ad itself, so they don't have to leave the platform. But for many clients, we take their visitors to a landing page, and they read the copy on the landing page, and they might request a PDF or a video or something else.
So can I pick up on that? Because I think I'm very happy to utilize BIP, what we're doing as a case study. So one thing that's critical when you're doing any form of outbound marketing is that you make it very clear somehow, whether it's covert or overtly, the type of person that you're really wanting to attract. And for us, our membership costs £3,500 a year. Of course, there's monthly options, but you know, we're not looking for people that are used to spending £15 a month to go to a networking lunch. And that was a real challenge, because we were having a lot of people apply. A lot of people know of Thomas and I and our legacy, who were excited, but then discovered the price after that. And that's price sensitive is a really important thing, because you don't want to flood your clients with leads that aren't possible. Not only is it disappointment for the person who thinks, oh, I might be able to afford that handbag. Oh, no, I can't. Or that lunch, no, I can't. So that's been a really interesting journey, because obviously on Facebook, you're not allowed to specifically say what salary band or what turnover income of a company necessarily, are you?
There are ways of doing it. It's not. It used to be 2 years ago, it was a lot easier because you could target people with a certain salary band.
Yeah.
What they give us options to do now is, and people who can afford more expensive things will often be interested in similar things. So we target based on those interests, which is another way of doing it.
Yeah, which has been very clever. It's been remarkable, the shift since you know, with a week in or whatever, since you identified that and shifted that. Yeah, so I just I know I sort of took you offline there a little bit, but I think it's really.
No, it's fine. I'm happy to talk. Anyone who wants to talk about this stuff is.
Well, it's this legacy of knowledge that you've got, where you have this customer experience point of view as well, of knowing that, so that you're not wasting anybody's time in the process.
Advertising is not a bad word. And you know, I'm on a bit of a mission. You know, I want to make advertising professional again, if you like. I think there's far too many people out there who they're just peddling wares. It's like market traders. And oh, you don't want to buy this, well, I'll sell you that. And they don't really care about the benefit of the benefit. But what they care about is selling their product. And actually, I really care about my clients, and I want them to work with the right people. Because everybody, I mean, I only take 15 clients at any one time. I've got a very limited.
I could imagine.
Yeah, I don't. You've experienced it. It's very one-to-one, and I don't have an interest in building a massive 30, 40, 50 person business again. I'm quite happy with my team. Got a relatively small team. We do really great work. We take on 15 clients at any one time, and you know, it's one in, one out, basically. And I want to work with my clients and help them grow their businesses. And I want to be part of their growth. I want to experience that with them. And then there'll come a time when they're too big for us, and that's fine. I can work with them in other ways. And there'll also come a time when, you know, perhaps people need a bit more help. And that's also fine, because I could then refer them within BIP to other people who are able to give them that support with confidence that they're going to come back in the right place for us to help them move forward.
There was something you said just now, which I find really interesting, because so many of us have thought, if I just constantly post and I constantly do social media, I'll get into people's radar. And I think that is very good for getting your values across. And obviously, you know, Hannah teaches top, middle and bottom of the funnel when you're building your brand and everything. And I have always been fearful of advertising because I don't want my brand to come across too transactional. But there comes a point when there has to be, you have to be interrupting someone's browsing with something that's a lot more direct, isn't there?
You're never going to find new people unless you put yourself out there.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that. It's actually, it's fine. It's a beautiful thing. And if you've got a solution to a problem, you have to make yourself findable.
Absolutely.
And there's lots of ways to do that. The best way to do it is to actually help people in your advertising. So provide a solution and help people to solve a problem or part of their problem.
Yeah.
And then you start building trust with them.
Yeah. And in this topic, you were saying that, you know, strategies simplify customer engagement while driving growth. And that's the critical thing, is the engagement. And that's been a really interesting journey where, and we can't go into a lot of detail, but the automation behind the scenes that enables Thomas very quickly to be able to engage with anybody who is interested, from seeing this really nice, clean, transparent, honest advert about the fact we're inviting them to a lunch that's going to cost them £100. But, you know, it's that ability to drive growth through having very quick engagement has been very powerful.
You have to engage with people at the point of taking action.
Yeah.
That's rule number one. Because 10 minutes later, they've forgotten about you.
Yes, exactly.
Then you have to be visible, what I call omni-channel. Omni-channel means that you acquire a click, and then once you've got that click, or someone's watched your video, suddenly you're everywhere.
Yes.
And that comes from content syndication, which is a very complicated term, but it basically means be visible.
Yeah.
And create content, put it out there, but be relevant to your market. Don't try and be everything to everybody. No. Just be honest with yourself. There's enough people in the world for an abundance of work within your specialism.
Yeah.
And a lot of the greatest marketers in the world have written millions of books about this, about niching down and selecting your audience. And it's true, it really works. And the more specific you are to the person you want to reach, the more omni-channel you're going to be for them, because they will find you on all of your other channels.
Yeah, so the next part was discover how to streamline your marketing efforts, improve customer experience, foster loyalty. Yeah, that to me is really interesting, because that first experience where they are going to experience the efficiency of your organization, your, you know, this human touch in a digital world, that you are genuinely interested in them as a customer. Tell me a little bit more about that, how we streamline your marketing efforts to improve that customer experience.
Look, the biggest problem that all business owners have in the world is overwhelm. They're trying to do too much.
Yeah.
They're just trying to do too much. So I use technology to help simplify the mundane. Is the easy way to put it. So there are initial tasks and initial connections that you will have with a customer or with a potential customer that can be automated. And if people respond to your initial communications, then you spend your time and you're having valuable conversations. I would much rather have 2 or even 1 valuable conversation every day than spin my wheels emailing 100 people a day and trying to follow up and asking them for follow. People will naturally follow up with you if what you're offering them is of value.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, how many of us have, I mean, I'm terrible on Instagram. I'll click and give my email address and say I'm interested in buying this, that, or loads of things. And then it gets to the point where I'm feeling so bombarded that the customer experience before I've even bought from them is just killing me, you know.
Yeah. I call it the curse of happy ears. I've actually got a video on it somewhere. If you search for it, you'll find it. So the curse of happy ears is when salespeople have got happy ears, they only hear what they want to hear. Oh, someone's looked at my webpage. I'm going to hassle them now until they buy. Well, if you were to walk into a shop, let's just say Selfridges, you know, because everyone knows Selfridges, right? If you live in London, it's a big department store in central London. And if you were to walk in there and have a look at something, and suddenly that person was to follow you around the shop.
Oh, that's a really good metaphor.
You would very quickly look for the exit and never go back there again.
Gosh, that is a really good way of looking at it. That's so true.
But what people are doing online now is someone walks into the shop, you're following them around the shop, then they're leaving the door and you're following down the street as well, you know, and it's
Into
really,
your home.
yeah. And then you have to unsubscribe and block and spam and,
Absolutely.
you know,
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more there.
and it's
And
just not the way.
no, no. And so then, so this explore practical ways to enhance business growth without stress. This is the bit that's made a huge difference to us. What would you say about that third point that's so critical?
Be clear on your goals.
Right.
You know, be clear on your goals. We had a very clear goal. And the first thing we did before we started working together was we mapped out your sales process and your customer journey.
Yeah.
And I looked at that customer journey and I said, okay, so where are we struggling? Where can we improve? And we actually found a few points on that journey that needed a little bit of a tweak. And I worked with Alison and we did some tweaking, you know, and which made things a lot easier for you, but also more transparent for your customer.
Yeah.
So if somebody lives in Surrey, you talk to them about events happening in Surrey. We're giving them the option, if they're interested in events in other places, to know about those, but super relevancy. You know, you've got to treat your customers with respect. And you know, you look at business across 5 pillars: marketing, sales, operations, finance, and HR.
Yeah.
And if you look at those 5 pillars, each of those 5 pillars has an experience related to working with that pillar. And no one's really got a strategy for that.
Yeah, yeah, I like that a lot. And it did make a huge difference. And we thought, you know, Thomas and I have been in sales since I was 19. I think he was 20 when he went in, you know, sales effectively. And it is interesting. It's very refreshing when you get someone like yourself coming in and looking at that, and you just think, yeah, that's where a ball can be dropped, or that's where it is invasive, or it's very, very clever. It's very, very good. Yeah, I think this has been a fantastic conversation. I mean, we could record for hours and hours and hours of it, and I know you've got a book on the horizon, which I'm very excited about. The fact that you've started to do that. There's so much you can teach. So I said earlier on that you are genuinely happy to talk this through with anyone, aren't you? So what is the best way for them to be able to do that, apart from using Thomas and I as a connector?
The most consistent way to get hold of me is go to my website, onuribrahim.com. You can go to the agency website, but onuribrahim.com is the most consistent. There's a button at the top for links, and then there's a link there. You can message, or you can book some time in my calendar. Rachel, my assistant, will find a time that's suitable, and then that's it. And then we can have a chat.
So let me spell Onur's name to you, just in case you're not watching this on video and you're listening. So Onur is spelled O-N-U-R, and Ibrahim is I-B-R-A H-I-M. So it's Ibrahim.
Ibrahim, yeah. Or just Google my name.
Yeah.
And you'll see me.
There. Well, that's good news. I've loved this conversation, and I hope it didn't seem indulgent of me, everyone, to be using BIP as a case study, but I think it brings things to life, doesn't it? And I think you can see how enthusiastic Thomas and I are about this. And maybe you have been listening to this without taking any notes, but it might be worth just going back over it and just doing a little bit of an audit of your own marketing and think about, you know, it's very fascinating when you think, how many conversations am I having? Where are they coming from? How many of them are converting? Where are my blocks in my business? And what alternative types of marketing could I do? And it's been, as you know, wonderful to be working with Onur. And Onur, this was a great conversation. Many, many thanks for giving me this time.
Thank you, Penny. Can I leave the listeners with one thing?
Yes, please do.
Okay, so the one thing, if you can change one thing in your business, categorize why people got in touch with you. Nice. And talk to them about that one thing.
Yeah, that's really nice. That is really nice. I like that. And whether you're looking for volume or you're looking like us for these very specific people, this is very relevant for you as well. I think that's really important, because a lot of people think, well, I'm not going to do advertising, and I know we've honed in on the advertising bit, because that's the bit that I've really experienced with you. But you know, there are a raft of knowledge that Onur's got about how to market yourself and achieve more customers in a non-stressful way. So many, many thanks, Onur. That was wonderful.
Thank you for the chat.